a sales engine that runs 24/7. That's the goal, that's the objective, and that's why I've created this video. Behind the scenes, I've got an AI agency called Sales Command, and I just want to take people on a fully transparent journey on what we're doing to build our business and basically just share all of our knowledge with you and what we do with other people that pay for our services. So if you're a business owner or you're an entrepreneur thinking or planning to start a business just like us, you're in sales, you're a sales leader or marketing, I'm going to teach you what we're going to implement, and I'm also going to take you on the journey on what's working, what's not working every single week with a video. So let's just dive in. I'm going to show you how to do this. Now on my screen here, what you fundamentally see is some different sort of main areas that we're focusing on. So there's generally more steps than this, but there's roughly what I like to call 8 sort of phases of building a sales engine. And I'm going to start at the very start, right? So the Sales Command knowledge base. So of course, insert your business name, not just Sales Command, but a knowledge base, right? So this very phase here is pretty much the centerpiece of everything that we do. It's amazing how many businesses don't have a knowledge base. Now, what do I mean about a knowledge base? Well, it's everything in one place that's housed about your business. Now, if you look at my screen here, okay, so now a knowledge base is everything about your business, okay? So the big question is, who's your DCP? Now, a DCP stands for Dream Customer Profile. Now, what is a dream customer profile? It's your ideal customer that you want to go for, your absolute dream that you want to work with. So, for example, if you want to work with SpaceX, you want to work with Tesla, you want to work with Amazon as a customer, no dream or goal is too big, and no dream or goal is also too little, right? So obviously, if you're working with big customers of that size, you're going to get a much smaller, what we call a TAM, but you're going to get a lot more job titles that you could go for. So there's all these different variations. So if you look at what DCP is a company level dream customer profile that you fundamentally would want to target, right? So no limit. Now, if you're in B2C, you probably would skip this step. However, some of your B2C products being e-commerce related, you still could have a dream customer profile that you want to go for, being a business that people work in to then find the names of your perfect customers. So this exercise is also for you as well. That forms the first part of the knowledge base. The next thing we need to do is work out what's called the persona. So your ICP, right? Okay, so which is your ideal customer profile or persona. Let's go ideal customer profile. Now, if you think about the people that are, employed in that particular business, or if you're a B2C company, what are their characteristics? Where do they work? How much income are they earning, right? So if it is you're a B2B business, so this would be something like all these different job titles of the people that you want to go for. So really, you'll always start here, and you'll basically always move on to this next level, right? So then you will document that as part of your knowledge base. Now, what else do we need? Okay, so the next thing that we're going to look at is all about your key competitors. Okay, so who are your competitors? Okay, so and who do you aspire to be like as a business? So it's really good to document this somewhere, and you'll see the reasons why a little bit later on. Now, the other thing you want to document as well as part of your knowledge base is your sales metrics, your process and stages. So let's call these sales metrics process stages. So what that fundamentally means is, if you think about your pipeline, okay, now for a B2B business, you might be using some sort of a CRM. If you don't have one, you might be running it on Excel, even your accounting software. Some people don't even have a CRM. However, there's always a defined sort of process when you meet someone at the very beginning, and how you close the actual customer at the very end. So there's all these different stages. Like, for example, meeting with a prospect, and then the next stage would be, discovery, being let's break down what their needs are and then try to match up the pain points. And then the next stage would be quote. The next stage would be generally negotiation, and then the final stage could be something like deal won, deal lost, right? So won and lost is very good, right, to capture, but that's basically what your deal stage. You want to map those out. And you also want to put the metrics behind each stage in a document as well. So for example, how long or how many sort of quotes do you get on a monthly basis? And how long does it tend to stay in each stage? What's called the actual sale velocities. How long does it take to get from start to finish? So there's all these different things you can get from that. You can literally use like a Perplexity or ChatGPT or Gemini, whichever AI that you prefer to use, and then just input some information about your business and saying, right, so based on your target industry, what's my general sort of sales metrics, sales process, sales stages, and it will even create some suggestions, and you can go in and fine tune that, capture that information into a document, and then so actually a big question. So what and where do you document all these informations? Now I'll get to that in a second. Okay, in fact I'll just tell you now what I use is a Notion database. Okay, so we create a Notion database table, as you can see here. Let me just drag this in, and this is just a template that I spin up. So this is a Notion database table. The awesome thing about Notion is the fact that you can, it has really good APIs. So in other words, each document within Notion, each header, like a H1, which is like, a paragraph title or a document title, H1, H2, H3, all those are basically can be called API via API. So you can do some really cool stuff. So we build a Notion database, and then from there, if you click on the open button in the first row, then we've got all of these documents that we fundamentally utilize to build out the knowledge base for our customers and also ourselves as well. So I'll be going through and filling out these details in front of your eyes. Not today, at the next video, okay? So use Notion. Notion's great for that. Even just a series of documents, create a page in Notion, and then just start copying and pasting the stuff you get from ChatGPT and just document everything about your business, okay? Now, once that's done, we now need to validate the TAM. So what that basically means, right? So we look at things like your DCP, so your dream customer profile. Again, as a reminder, it's your company level. Then we look at your ideal customer profile. And what we then do is we put that into things like, it could be, let's just say, it could be, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, right, to do some research, or LinkedIn in general. You might have other good database software like, for example, Apollo. Okay, so Apollo is a great software if you want to use to, it fundamentally is almost like LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Arguably, they scraped all the data and got flagged by LinkedIn. But essentially, it's like a lot of the information that you would naturally see in LinkedIn Sales Navigator, very similar sort of filters that you can create. And what you want to do is you want to validate your TAM. So if you are looking at your ideal customer persona or your dream customer profile, so how many companies exist that you're trying to target, how many staff members could you target? So for example, one company could have 3 different decision makers that you're targeting. What you want to do is basically just document how big that market is. And then, of course, the geography, the region, is it too big, too small? Are you not drilling down enough? So rule of thumb is that if you're doing just cold email outreach, it's a numbers game, because you're going to get very sort of little, like 3% reply rates on average, maybe 3 to 8%, depending on your messaging and industry. Obviously, you want to go for 8%. Open rates are great if it's really well defined with the messaging. But if you look at those stats, if you're going to get 3% and you've only got a very small TAM of 1,000 people as an example, then that might not be the best approach standalone. We do have customers that have a relatively small TAM, and we're doing more of a different approach to try to get into those accounts, right? So anyway, so once you do that, you validate your TAM. Let's just connect these dots as well. Okay, so this is all part of your knowledge base. All goes in here. You can see here, by validating your TAM, that too becomes part of your knowledge base. And then, and then basically what you're seeing here as an overall sort of picture is that now with these 2 items alone, you've got way more intelligence stored in one place than you've ever had. Okay, so that's the very first tip. Get your knowledge base done. Validate how big your market is using these different tools you have. Now, once you do that, the main thing is your offer and content. I always like to think about an offer as something that really gets to the pain point of the people that you're speaking to. So let's just say, for example, what we do at Sales Command is that we basically build sales engines that help your sales team, so your SDRs and business development managers, speak to the right people at the right time at scale. So that way they have a predictable pipeline. They don't need to spend too much researching. In fact, if not little at all, because they're just going to wake up with meetings booked or lead scores that are 80 plus. Just to explain to you about what lead scores are, since I'm on that topic, and it's a big part of everything that we do. You might get, for example, someone in your persona that you want to target, and you find out that they have this, what's called a buying signal. A buying signal is that they've shown interest in your industry, that they would like to either switch from a product to a competitor, right? They've indicated that, or they could have signals that their business has grown, or that particular person that you're fundamentally targeting, they've moved organizations and they're trying to make an impact in the first 6 months. So that's really good sort of different buying signals. And then if they've visited your website, if you're doing cold email outreach, you need to create some domains and all that sort of stuff. Do they, go to the cold outreach domain and it diverted to the website? We need to track all that. These things account for lead scores. Sorry to digress, but it's a super important topic. So when someone has a lead score of 80, that's also a warm prospect now. They're no longer a cold contact, right? So that's really good for your sales team. I'd rather wake up in the morning after this running 24/7, communicating on my behalf or the business's behalf, and then all of a sudden I've got my CRM loaded up with people that now know the brand and would love to be called, right? So that's really what we do at Sales Command. So you can imagine that is all part of the offer. We've got tons of content like this. Like, for example, I'm building this video because I want to give stuff away. I want to teach you, and also it's a great offer. In general, saying, hey, check out the YouTube videos that I create. I can put this in all my emails as well, just to help people, right? In general, which is the goal in life. It's just to help people, right? So anyway, sorry, I don't mean to digress. Super duper important. So offering content, right? So you want to basically what you want to do is fundamentally build out your offer and content database. Okay, so that could be something like, white papers, right? So what's a white paper? It could be something about your industry, like insights in the industry that you want to share with people to help them in their life, because it's literally, the internet now is all about giving, right? So what are you going to give to people that would be of value? And that's really what the content is. It's about helping people. It could be, ROI calculators. Now, all of this stuff leads to a landing page, because it's all about attribution. So again, I'm sure you know what a landing page is. Just in case, it's a page that's dedicated to one cause and one action, and that we can basically track. So it might be a subdomain that is, for example, your business, or salescommand.com.au/ROI calculator, or / things to know about, top 5 things to know about to close more deals, or, AI agents, whatever it is, right? So what you want to do is basically land all of this to a said landing page, and that's what the key idea is. And then, of course, that all forms part of your offers and content. You want to basically just document what these are, right? So, okay, anyway, that's good. All right, so yeah, and you start to see a real sort of picture grow. Now, when we're building Sales Command, this AI agency, what we want to do is basically build all this for our own business, and then this then forms everything in one Notion database. Now, once you do all that, the next step, what you need to look at your contact database. So where are you going to find these people, right? So we did mention something like an Apollo before. What I would suggest is, depending on your industry, do you have an existing database? So let's just start there. So your contact database. So we're pretty much looking at cold outreach at this point for this, right? But you might have 2 years of data in your CRM that's closed lost that you want to enrich and all this sort of stuff. Let's go CRM closed lost data. All right. Or you want to find your contacts on going back to Apollo, right? You can even get your contacts directly from LinkedIn Sales Navigator once again. There's other things that you want to get that you want to maybe look into, such as Clearbit, or another great. We tend to get a lot of our contacts from Drop Contact. and many, many more. Okay, so you naturally should just really pick one. The idea is that, if you're B2B, LinkedIn's probably going to have the best database for you. So it's a great, definitely a good place to start. Excellent. All right. So our case, we're going to have, hundreds of thousands for our market. Now, hypothetically, you've got all that done. You've got your database contacts. You understand how big the market is. You've got all your documentation in one place. The next step, what you want to do is build out or subscribe to Clay. Clay's great. You don't have to use Clay. You can use things like a Google spreadsheet. You can use even Airtables, fantastic as well. It will just take a bit more custom work, and what we love about Clay is the ability to just take everything in, and you can start to sort of create the list and export in. Now, before you get to Clay, in fact, I did miss a few steps right now. There's one in particular, the AI API models. All right. So what am I talking about here? So when it comes to contact database, there's two things that we want to do. One is which is that we want to enrich these people that you get, so the actual ICPs or the personas, with as much contact detail or context as possible. There's a great tool that we love to use that I use immensely, even more than ChatGPT, and that is Perplexity. Perplexity is a great research tool, so you'll find it just doesn't hallucinate. And it's renowned for being able to create agent swarms from using what are called Perplexity labs that you can give on a certain amount of prompts, and it will just scrape and just search the internet for everything that you need and actually source provide the actual source of the information, so it's real. Really good for just research stuff, right? So you want to basically subscribe to Perplexity Pro, spin up your own API key is the first step. Of course, the other one that I like to use, and everyone knows this one, if you don't by now, it's by OpenAI, called ChatGPT. ChatGPT, what we're going to use that model for is, and again, you need to subscribe to the the API. There's different tiers of API access that you can actually get. You start with the low tier and you get to a certain level, then you get to sort of the mid to the high tier. But either way, you just need to go to OpenAI's website, and directly from there, you can create an API key. And to go back to what ChatGPT, what we tend to use it for is all about sort of taking all of the information that we're getting about the contact database, about the research that we get from Perplexity, all about the information about the ideal customer profile, the competitors, the sales metrics, everything, right? And what we can do with that is that we can then use ChatGPT to craft specific messages for certain phases. Now, all of this basically connects onto a Clay table, okay? So, what is our next step, of course? It is literally the Clay table. So we've got that. In fact, let's just join those dots. And then from there, we need to build our Clay table. So I'm not going to go through this detail. So we're just going to build the table, get all the contacts we get from this phase here, connect the API, the AI models into the Clay table as well. You can even link your data sources directly, like Drop Contact, LinkedIn, and even, of course, your CRM, and then just build out the table. I'm not going to go this. There will be videos that I'll share with you about just creating a Clay table from scratch, and then enriching data. I'll share that with you once we do it. I just want to give you the overall strategy in today's video. Once that Clay table is done, the very last phase is second last phase, should I say, is outreach. So the outreach tools that we love to use, that's what we will be using, in fact, is Lemlist. So what's Lemlist great for? It's great for what's called omni-channel outreach. So you can create sequences, and I'll show you this when it's built. For us, that is. So for example, a sequence would be email 1, delay for 3 days, email 2, then LinkedIn profile view, as in the people that you want to go after, that you enrich, and from there you can have something like send WhatsApp message, send another email follow up, and then if then sort of branching as well. So if does not open email, then connect on LinkedIn. Cool thing about Lemlist is pretty much the only omni-channel tool that has a direct integration with LinkedIn. Use it with caution. You don't want to use it if your LinkedIn profile has a low SSI index. What that basically means is your ability to outreach many people at the same time is dependent on how active you are and how much you're contributing to the LinkedIn community. So it's always great that whilst you're building this, start to build up your LinkedIn profile with posts and comments and all that sort of stuff on other people's posts, right? Anyway, so Limitless is great at that. You can use other tools like Smart Lead. In fact, I'll just, I could add that as well. So Smart Lead, which then, you need to, if you want to do, omni-channel outreach, you can integrate with that with HeyReach. So Smart Lead is arguably the, best cold email outreach tool if it's just for emailing, generally speaking. The reason why is that you can create unlimited inboxes. So going back onto the TAM, what that basically means is that if your TAM is like 50,000, in fact, let's call it 500,000 people, when it comes to reaching out to a cold email audience of 500,000, you're going to need multiple inboxes. Otherwise, it will take you a lifetime to get through to all 500,000 people. So with Lemlist, their focus isn't so much of outreach at volume. Their focus is outreach at quality, micro-targeting, and omni-channel, right? So think LinkedIn and email outreach in a sequence, right? So you've identified that contact is in LinkedIn. Whereas a Smart Lead is like, so Lemlist then has strong or big limitations on how many inboxes you can spin up per plan. So what that means is that you might have a domain. So for us, it could be something like, use or get salescommand.com as an example. And then from there, you'll have two of those domains, then you'll create, up to 3 inboxes per domain. So now you've got 6 inboxes over 2 domains, and there's limitations, right? And then you need to scale up, and then eventually you might be able to get to some volume figures. So it can be done, but it can get really expensive. Whereas Smart Lead, it's you can just create unlimited inboxes, no issue, and sort of has the best-in-class APIs, best-in-class ability to rotate inboxes and all that sort of stuff. It's just that if you want to use LinkedIn with Smart Lead, then you'll need to get a HeyReach subscription, and then you'll have to actually do a bit of integration between the two. The reason why that's important to note, because now all of a sudden you've got 2 different subscriptions here, and on top of that, you need it to integrate. You need intelligence around navigating the APIs, which you can. It's not hard to do. Just do a bit of vibe coding. Vibe marketing, so just go into ChatGPT, ask questions about how to give me the code for XYZ. You can get it done. Anyone can do anything now, right? So with Lemlist, so why that's important. So if someone emails, if you do a sequence in Lemlist, and during a sequence someone emails, then you don't want that person to have a connection request on LinkedIn with a generic message, on vice versa. So just say if someone's messaged you back on LinkedIn, you want the emails to stop. So as soon as that happens, it will stop the sequence overall. So that's why we love Lemlist for that reason. And that's what we're going to use for our campaign at Sales Command, okay? So that's that. That's pretty much your outreach stack. Pretty straightforward. And then last but not least is that we can then get down to the CRM. What that basically means is that if you think about the CRM, what we want to do is fundamentally just only get data that we spoke about the lead score. So just say lead score 80 plus, and or meeting booked. Now I used to work for HubSpot, great CRM. It's free, limiting in terms of the free version. The paid version, HubSpot Sales Hub Professional and Marketing Hub Professional. You can do that. It's great for growing businesses. It's got a bit of cash. Other CRMs that are coming up in the world, you may have heard of Go High Level. There's also another one called Attio that we're looking at using. There's open source ones called 20 CRM. The whole point is that you just want to document. So anything that becomes a lead score 80, so remember they've interacted with those lead magnets that you have, that you've created with your offers, being they've consumed it or they've downloaded the copy or the content. They've opened all the emails and now they're a lead score 80, being that, hey, cold call this guy, enrich their phone number in Clay. So imagine that anyone who's a lead score 80, we want to then say, right, let's move them into a unique Clay table. And then from there, let's go ahead and, automatically import that into the CRM. So plenty of cool stuff you could do there. Or if it's a meeting booked, then we want that meeting to go directly into the CRM as well, so you can keep track. And then that's when it hits your sales pipelines that I spoke to you about earlier. What is your sales stages, processes, and your metrics? If you haven't done that, you use a spreadsheet. At this point, you would have built that. You've done a bit of AI. Then all of a sudden, hey, I'm going to now input this into my CRM. So this is, I know there was a lot of information. It's quite a long call. But yeah, I am going to keep you posted. So we're about to build this campaign throughout the week. I'm going to just give you an overview of the sequences that we build. I'm going to go through results about the people we reach out to. If you subscribe to this, right, the channel, and also maybe subscribe to our mailing list, you could become part of the campaign too. Then you get to see what it's like to receive an email from us, or at least book a call with us or something like that. We're happy to help you as well. So look, thanks so much for watching. Appreciate everything about you. I want to wish you all the best with your journey. Whether you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, we're all on the same journey. We want to grow. We want to scale without sacrifice. I think they're the two key words. Scale without sacrifice is 3 key words. So that's what we're all about. So I hope this has helped you, and just keep following us, because I'll take you on the journey. Thanks so much, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.